Hey, it's Aaron, the metal theologian. Been having trouble with my thing being out of sync. My sound's being a little bit out of sync, and I just fucked with the settings a little bit, and it should be better. I think it is. But if it looks really fucked up when you're seeing this, let me know, because I'll forget to check it, because I'm not really interested in that sort of thing. So, alright, anyway, we are listening, actually, at the very beginning of the side, we're listening to Second Life, which is actually a German band from the early 70s. I think it was like 70 or 71, this record. And this band, if I'm not mistaken, actually became Tiger B. Smith, who, I've shown a couple of their records. I think someone else has shown a couple too. Fuck, their fingerprints on the cover. Anyway, I'll deal with that later. Anyway, it's kind of an awesome looking cover, you know. And it's a good record. It's not the heaviest thing ever. You know what's actually really striking me about this? There's like a side-long suite on side one. And, it sounds like prog rock, but with the emphasis on rock, which is really kind of unusual, because usually like the prog rock records, you know, it's kind of more prog, you know what I'm saying? Like some of the ones like when I show a little bit actually are kind of more prog, you know? This one's really more rock, like kind of simple rock and roll, but like long and complicated songwriting, but the songs have some punch, so. Oh, that's kind of funny, there's a long drum solo on side one too, which I just listened to before, and it's really not the most inspiring drum solo I've ever heard, but what can I say? It's a really enjoyable record, I think. So I went out for Record Store Day. Actually, I didn't. I went out that weekend, though, you know, because there was that thing on Friday. And guess what? I found jack shit. Like, I went and looked at the list, too. And I was like, what are they putting out this year? This is just like a brief commentary on this. But I wasn't interested in any of the shit. Which is, I feel like a little bit vindicated when I said earlier in the year, which is that Record Store Day isn't for collectors, it's for yahoos. And no offense if you like Record Store Day, you know, there's nothing wrong with being a yahoo, but if you've been collecting for a while, you're probably not going to be really impressed with some, like, new reissue of... Dude, I don't even know what they did this time. I kind of want to crack wise about it, like with the Bruce Springsteen ones last time, but I don't know. Anyway, you know what I did find, though, was this fucking thing. Not a Record Store Day release or Black Friday release or anything, just it was on the Blue Note release schedule, but I was really happy to see this, because I love Bobby Hutcherson. And this is kind of hard to find for some reason, this one. I mean, it's been reissued a couple times. There's a French reissue in the 80s, not like some of the other ones, but even the reissues seem to be expensive. So, anyway, I haven't even cracked it open yet. I just busted this one out to sort of make a point. I'll wait to open that one up until I'm on a bigger jazz kick, because I don't listen to rock. Which is bringing me to shit like this. You ready for a great cover? Look at that. The Old Man in the Sea. This is a Danish band. This band, I don't know, I heard been described as a little Beatlesy. I don't know if I would say that, but like if you took a real like serious like prog band that was like really into the whole prog thing, but like the Beatles was their favorite band, it might kind of sound like this, kinda. I don't know, man. These guys just had it. You know, it's funny when I was listening to it, I was trying to think about what I would say about it. It's really hard to pinpoint anything because there's certain things they do that don't work in other bands, and the way that's what makes this great. Like, they'll start doing some vocal harmonies, and like if Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young did the exact same thing, I would fucking hate it. But for some reason they'll do the same shit, and it just sounds great. I don't know, man. It's like it's prog in spirit, but they're just really good songwriters, I guess. I really think it just comes down to that. They're just fucking good songwriters. So, yeah, it's an awesome record. This is something I was really happy to see reissued. It was a pretty limited one. I'm glad I did it when I did. And I'm noticing that I'm really thirsty, and I'm thinking that that's because it's time to bust out this bottle of Big Red that I happen to have sitting in front of me. This is actually a classic Texas soda. You don't see this much out here. You don't see it much in California, where I lived before here. But it's all over the place in Texas. It's actually in Waco. I don't know if they're based there, but it's bottled there. And you don't see it in the bottles very often either, but out there you get in fucking 12-pack and just swill that shit like cheer wine here, you know? Yeah, it's funny. I honestly can't say if this is just fucking fantastic, the soda, or if I'm just really in the mood for it. I didn't even realize I was in the mood for it. I was just really hitting the spot, you know? You know what this tastes like? This tastes like Red Pop. I don't know if anyone remembers, like when you were a kid, there were like cheap brands that would just say Red Pop. That's what this tastes like. This is like a really good Red Pop. That's exactly what the fuck it is. It's a Red Pop. kind of fruity, but no like specific readily identifiable fruit flavor. You know, nothing so fucking hoity-toity as like fruit flavor you can actually identify as being the flavor of a fruit that exists in nature. It's just fucking really good and sugary and delicious, and it has caffeine in it. Alright, here's another one I played recently. I Teoremi, an Italian band, which has kind of an unusual gimmick cover actually. This is a reissue, but Akarma did it right on this one. So like you open up the gatefold, and there's this little thing here. That's where the song titles are and where the record comes out. So, you know, this is total prog, but it's one of the heavier ones. You know, if you want to start exploring Italian prog, but like you're used to the German shit, it tends to be darker and honestly kind of heavier too, as long as you're not listening to like, you know, MTD or something like that. This is a good starting point band. I'd recommend these guys. I'd recommend Il Rovescio della Medaglia, whom I've talked about before, although it's been a while. And I don't know if they pronounce it J-E-T or Jet, but that's another really good one too, man. So, that's how simple this Second Life record is. This actually reminds me of there's a new wave of British heavy metal thing that this reminds me of, and I can't place it. It's actually been bothering me. I played this a couple times over this past week. Anyway, speaking of cool heavy ones, this is one. You can't really see the cover because you have that Obi over there. But it's just like a big, like, fucking... Well, that's the band. This is just like a hard rocker. It's kind of bluesy, but it's probably not quite as bluesy as like Speed Glue and Shinky or some of the other Japanese ones. Excuse me, but this is just a Japanese hard rocker. Falls out. You've got no business buying this record if you don't already own everything good by the Flower Traveling Band. Meaning you don't have Satori and Made in Japan at the very least. Forget it, you need those first. I mean, I'm sorry. But this fucking, you start digging past that level, and Too Much is a band to check out. And unfortunately, it's a hard band to search for because I don't know if you ever tried to Google Too Much, but this is not the first thing that comes up. I can tell you from experience. And even that reissue is tough to get. But it's possible. If it weren't possible, I wouldn't have one sitting here. So what can I say? I don't say this by way of, look at the shit I've got that you're never going to have. I say it by way of, you can find it. Stick with it. I feel like I'm rambling all over the fucking place today, but what the hell. This one's really total prog too, but it's another German one, so it has that German sound. Thrice Mice, and I guess it's like this, and then like she's standing on a chair. It's really kind of a doofus cover. But this is one I'd never seen until it got reissued. This is a long hair reissue. You know, this is just another one. It's completely different in vibe from something like The Old Man and the Sea, but it's also kind of hard to articulate. There are 4 songs on this thing, and a lot of saxophones, a lot of stuff that makes it sound, if I were to describe it, just like ordinary prog stuff. But it just sounds cool, man. It's just really listenable. They just pull it together right. I don't know what it is, but yeah, I really like that Thrice Mice record. It's not the greatest thing ever, okay? I don't want to like be like, oh my god, if you're going to check out one German prog record, you got to hear this. There are other ones that totally recommend over, like Cornucopia. I mean, that's a favorite of mine. The Electric Sandwich record. You know, both those are Brain records. I fucking love those things, okay? But Thrice Mice is really cool, very enjoyable listen, and, you know, again, it's a lot more enjoyable than this one. This is another Danish one. You know, I like giving props to the Danes. But when they blow it, I've got to be honest too. And this record, I've had for a few years. Come back to it periodically, and you know what's really notable about this record is it just fails to grab me every single time. It's not so much as anything terribly wrong with it, as much as I don't know, man. I guess it just doesn't do it for me, you know. It looks cool, that simple cover and some fucking guys, some Danes sitting out in the field. But yeah, man. So the band is Burnin' Red Ivanhoe. In case you haven't heard of them before, I feel like I'm doing a bad job naming the bands today. And the title was The Prescient, WWW. No shit, that's from like 71 or 2 maybe or something like that. If I'm not mistaken, this is their third album. It's the only one I own. I've seen this one cited as their best one by people who like them, so I'm kind of inclined to stay away from other ones. There's a reissue of one, of an earlier one that came out recently that I'm kind of been tempted by, but I don't know, given that that one just hasn't really been all that great, I'm probably not going to buy it. So my mom was in town, and I was playing some jazz, and she was kind of bitching about it. She's like, oh, it all sounds good. I was like, oh, okay, if you want to hear jazz, I'll play some fucking rock. So I busted this out. So this is a classic record. This is Amon Düül II, and this is the Yeti album. It's 2 record set. It was an original, and this is, if you're going to get into this band and you don't already know them, just the whole Amon Düül vibe, in fact. Because you really, I was showing some Amon Düül I stuff in my last video, and I love that shit. I really do. But if you want to kind of get a feel for what you're heading for, you know, if you want to just jump in the deep end, I'm never going to try and talk you out of that. You know, I might say, give it a listen on YouTube before you go out and spend what a record costs, especially if there's something harder to find. But, you know, fundamentally, I'm all about jumping in the deep end, you know. This record kind of has the jamminess that the Amon Düül bands had, both of them. But it also has, it just has some fucking good riffs, which is actually kind of unusual for Amon Düül II, let alone Amon Düül I. They're really bands that kind of were known for their riffs, you know what I'm saying? More like for the amount of drugs they took, you know? But this record is cool, it's well put together, the jammy parts are cool, and it's just so fucking dark, man. And that's why, even though you would not confuse this record with Psychedelic Underground or Collapsing or something like that, what they really do share, these two bands, is the sort of darkness in their sound, and it's something that just makes them stand out. I talk about that a lot with the German bands, but nobody exemplifies that more than Amon Düül II or Amon Düül I. But I'll probably think of someone as soon as turn off the video, but it's hard to come up with someone who just like has this sort of combination of like weird shit going on. Well, these guys are using like distortion on the microphones and shit on some of the songs, and yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, my mom wasn't into it, but she quit bitching, so it's fine. We also listened to this one again, actually, too. A classic. I mean, what am I going to say about a totem like this? I'm more showing this because I had this older reissue. I actually had an opportunity to get an original this once, and I fucking blew it, so I say this by way of saying, yeah, I've made some mistakes in my time, but this is really probably my favorite Can record. There's a little thing, if you live in anywhere near an Amoeba Records, you can tell where I bought this. I don't know if there's a legit reissue or not, but bottom line is this is what the cover was when it came out in the UK. So it has UA labels, it's, you know, and this is what it looked like. Most of the ones that are kicking around with that, frankly, cooler cover with like the weird like orange head on it, and it's like a maze in it and shit. That's the German cover. So yeah. Yeah, this record's just fucking great. I mean, if you don't know Can, well, if you don't know Can, listen to him. I mean, you know, I want to say, oh, well, then, blah, blah, but that's bullshit. The fact that someone has turned you on to a band like that, you know? I think most of the people watching this probably know Can. If you're watching me and you've made it this far into the video, you probably know Can. But, you know, what can I say? You know, it'd be maybe hip to, like, find some obscure 45 they did, but Tago, Mago, no shit, is my favorite one. So we're going to contrast it with a couple more obvious ones. I've actually been on kind of a Blue Öyster Cult kick the last couple days, and this is the one I pulled out to talk about. I've actually been playing this one and the first one a lot. The first 3 are the ones that I really love. I like the later ones, like, you know, Godzilla and all that shit. I'm really over Don't Fear the Reaper, yes, okay? But, you know, whatever. Although, actually, my 4th favorite record is probably Fire of Unknown Origin. But the point is, I'm not talking shit about like Blue Öyster Cult later in the 70s, but the ones that really kind of get me going are these first 3. You know what else it is? The darkness of the sound. Now, I think these records suffered a lot for being shittily produced. It's like there's just no music in those fucking grooves. You have to turn it up like halfway to really get it. And I think that probably keeps a lot of people away because it kept me from fully appreciating this band for a long time. But man, fucking everything about this record is great. Okay, I don't think Harvester of Eyes is the greatest song. I don't think Cagey Cretins is the greatest song. Cagey Cretins is fine, it just kind of sounds a little out of place. And whereas Emmy's 262 is like a boogie thing that actually fits right in. Career of Evil, Subhuman, Dominance's Mission, all great songs. You probably know them. You know what struck me about this record the last time I listened to it, though? I don't know if I've ever said this about a record before. Astronomy is a great closing song. Blue Öyster Cult was really good at great closing songs, slowing it down. Redeemed at the end of the first one has the same purpose. It's like kind of they slow it down, kind of. Redeemed is even in a major key, and it just kind of brings it all together with this sort of glorious, like, to close the record out with. But I don't know that I have ever heard a song that is as well suited to be the second last song on a record as Flaming Telepaths on this one. Now think about that for a few minutes. The next time you listen to your copy of this, when Flaming Telepaths comes on, don't stop paying attention. Turn it up a little bit and really dig it. It's a great song, okay? And it's one of those songs where I would want to, if I were in a Blue Öyster Cult cover band, I would almost want to start the show off with that. I saw a Metallica cover band start a show with the song Escape one time. And I was like, wow, what a weird choice of a song to start with, you know? But I was like, but in a way, that's really cool, you know? I really appreciate they started that. I saw UFO one time, they started with Mother Mary, and maybe they did that all the time. I mean, I like UFO, and I've seen them a few times, but I don't know them all that well. Maybe that's just like a thing they did, and I just didn't realize it, but that struck me as an unusual choice, and I was kind of impressed by that. But all this by way of saying, okay, Flaming Telepaths has exactly the right vibe for the second last song on the record, okay? The way that riff works, sort of that weird, like, turn in the riff, or not the riff, in the chorus, that weird sort of, that weird turn with the raised, like, low note in the progression. I'm not describing this articulately. But it's just perfect, and it leads right into the last song, which Astronomy then delivers, you know, sort of like, this is like the album's resolution, you know? It's like this trajectory it creates. And I don't know, I might just be fucking, like, projecting all sorts of shit on the Flaming Telepaths here, but in a way, without being the best song in the world, I mean, I love the song, okay, but without being the best song in the world, last time I listened, it just struck me as a perfect song. You know what I mean? So anyway, something to mull over. And finally, I've been making some noise with people I've talked with a little bit about doing a new wave of British heavy metal video again, because I said I was going to do another one a while back and I never did, but I'm moving in that direction because I also played this thing a couple days ago, and I'm going to say something else. I think that this is probably my favorite Priest album of the 80s, and I'm including British Steel in that. Obviously I'm including Screaming for Vengeance, but I'm telling you, this record I don't think gets the love it deserves, and there are a couple of you, and you know who you are if I'm addressing you, Mr. Capper. But someone else did too, though, actually, and I feel bad. No shit, I think as far as clunkers go, okay, Screaming for Vengeance is a great record, okay, but you know what sucks about Screaming for Vengeance? Take These Chains, okay? And that Pain and Pleasure song is kind of a dip, too, you know? This song has some heads that are going to roll on it, which I never need to hear it again. I actually didn't know until just a couple days ago that some guy wrote that for them as well as the same guy who wrote Take These Chains. Okay, so whatever, I hope he made a ton of money. But, like, Eat Me Alive, or, like, Love Bites. Like, Love Bites, I would much rather hear as a single than, like, I don't know, Bloodstone or something like that again. Maybe not quite much, but... You know, I'm trying to look at the bad songs, because I don't think anyone's going to argue with me about Freewheel Burning, you know what I mean, or The Sentinel, which is one of the best songs they ever fucking did, but, like, Heavy Duty is kind of a cornball tune, but it's cool the way it leads into that sort of closing thing with Defenders of the Faith, that really cheesy-ass fucking sort of sing-along chorus. But, man, there's nothing on here as bad as United, okay? I would rather listen to Some Heads Are Gonna Roll 5 times in a row than listen to United once. Yeah, man, so I'm just going to say, I think it suffers a little bit from the production, but frankly, the production on this record sounds a lot better than most of the records they've done thus far, because Sin After Sin and Stained Class are records that really suffered from bad production. This one, I was talking with an Australian friend of mine about this one time. He said he thought these had the shittiest sounding drums on any record. Now, I still think that I need to leave that distinction with the drum sound on Sentence of Death by Destruction, although I think I mean it in a more positive way than he did in that regard. And I also have to say that if the drums on this record sounded any more processed, you pretty much have to assume it was Rick Allen playing them. But I still think it fits, man, and I just fucking love this record, and given the drums are kind of too low in the mix anyway, for my taste, a little extra processing is kind of easy to ignore, so, I don't know, man, I'm going to challenge, if you, haven't loved that record enough, I mean, obviously it's better than Point of Entry, obviously it's better than Turbo, but I would put that easily against British Steel and Screaming for Vengeance. And if you want to compare it to another, Stained Class, well then yeah, Stained Class is going to fucking win. But I think that's probably the best record they did between Hellbent for Leather and Painkiller, which really is better than that one, I think. But anyway, that's what I've got for today. I think my record's ending anyway, so thanks for watching. Jesus, that's good. My God. Yeah, Big Red, man, that's the shit. Fucking, I like to give it to the Deep South when it comes to soda, but the Texans, they know a thing or two, too. Alright, anyway, that's it. Talk to you soon. Have fun. Thanks a lot. God damn it, I pressed the wrong button. Okay, here we go.